Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. It's going up for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and in living color on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning in to the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour. We are with you until 6 o'clock, and then we'll hand it over to the Royals Baseball Network as the Royals open a homestand tonight with the first of 3 games against the Tampa Bay Rays, who, of course, they just wrapped up a 4-game series with in Tampa last week. Second and final series of the year between the Royals and the Rays opens tonight at the K. Be Noah Cameron and Griffin Jacks as the scheduled starting pitchers. A rematch from last Wednesday's Rays win at the Trop. First pitch at 6:40. Pregame coverage, 6 o'clock sharp, right here on 580 WIBW and on FM 104.9. Until then, we got 3 hours of sports talk to bring your way. We're going to talk a lot of football today. Moving into that time of year. Tomorrow it's July. And in July, training camp opens, obviously. But also, 1 week from today, yours truly will be live and direct, if you will, if you'll permit me, from the Star in Frisco, Texas for day 1 of 2 of the Big 12 football media days. And those promise to be quite interesting. Quite interesting indeed. Don't you think? Everything's been going on in the Big 12 the last, 3 weeks? I think that initial injunction Brendan Sorsby got, that was like 3.5 weeks ago. It was not that long ago. It was this month. Feels like that whole saga was so sweeping, and it was like 17 days from Sorsby gets injunction to Sorsby can't even play in the CFL. So a lot's gone on in the Big 12 Conference in the last month. And all those coaches are going to get together and play nice at the Star in Frisco next week over 2 days at Big 12 Media Days. We are delighted once again to be providing some on-site coverage this year. We'll have 2 days of live content. And as you know, if you've listened to this show for any length of time, we get so much stuff, we can't contain it to just the 2 days. And that's especially going to be the case this year with both Kansas and Kansas State scheduled to appear on Wednesday. So Tuesday, we'll try and hear from some of our friends and maybe some other media members that are down there in Frisco, and we'll talk, Big 12 at large. We'll talk to KU. We'll talk K-State. Then on Wednesday, I'm going to talk to everybody. And as you can imagine, with 5 Jayhawks and 4 Wildcats set to attend, along with the head coaches for both teams, we're not going to sneak all 11 interviews on 1 day's worth of the show. So we're going to leave with an armful, the royal we here, we're going to leave with an armful of Big 12 Media Day content for you in the week or so thereafter. So very excited to offer that coverage of Big 12 Media Days. I'll be live at the Star. I'll leave Monday. I'll be live from there Tuesday and Wednesday. And so I got a little Big 12 football on the brain too, in addition to thinking Chiefs. As it pertains to the Chiefs, we had a little conversation yesterday about which players on the current roster are likely to get contract extensions. And I want to expand the scope of that conversation a little bit further today and wonder what really the next core for the late stage Patrick Mahomes years. It's weird to think about that, right? In some ways, it feels like we've just gotten started. It feels impossible that Patrick Mahomes is already 31 years old, and he will be. This is his age 31 season this coming year. But as he ages into his mid to late 30s, what is the core of the Chiefs going to look like around him? And is that even a group of players that is currently on this roster? Is the core of the Chiefs, as the decade ends, and as the 2020s become the 2030s, are those core players on this current roster? Which of them are they? So I wanted to talk about that. And also, we discussed yesterday Jalen Moore on our countdown to Chiefs kickoff. He's number 77. We were 77 days away from kickoff. Today, we're 76 days away, and number 76 is Kingsley Suamataia, another projected starter for this year's offensive line. And Suamataia is an interesting case as it pertains to, is this a core player? Because he made some great big strides this past season. But if he continues to grow and become an above-average NFL starting guard, I think he proved last year he can be an average one. If he gets to the level of above average, can the Chiefs afford to pay 2 above-market contracts to guards? Is that something they can afford to do? It would be one of those good problems over the next 2 years if Suamataia plays like that player on a rookie contract. But I think Suamataia is a really fascinating player, not just for the upcoming 2026 Kansas City Chiefs, but an interesting case, not case study, but just a thought experiment as to, all right, well, what are the Chiefs going to value as they build this next iteration of Chiefs teams around, again, it seems weird to say this or contemplate this even, but around an aging Patrick Mahomes. So we'll get to some Chiefs today. We're also going to talk some Big 12 football, like I said. I dove into the Phil Steele yearbook, the handbook, I guess, the book the experts can't do without. Had some layovers, had some flights over the weekend, so I had a chance to read the magazine. And got to thinking about KU, K-State. What concerns are there for those teams, just roster-wise, going into 2026? Because I think we can agree, relative to 2 years ago, when both KU and K-State came into the year ranked, and of course we know how that turned out, the expectations for Kansas and Kansas State together, I don't know that they've been this low probably since the last time K-State switched coaches. Probably since the first Chris Kleiman year. And of course, that was, KU was smacking the David Beatty era still at the time. It's probably the last time the combined expectations for Jayhawk football and Wildcat football have been this muted. Obviously, it's fairly recent development that there are any kind of expectations for KU football, but feels like a year where a lot of people are going to pick KU, not just in the bottom half of the league, maybe even in the bottom quarter of the league this year. And Kansas State, under a new head coach again, will figure to be a team that I think many people will project in the middle of the pack, even if Vegas likes them and the schedule is favorable. But what are the concerns? What are the primary concerns surrounding KU and K-State? And I don't mean to go into this and jump headlong into college football and, oh, by the way, we're going to be a little bit negative about this. But just realistically speaking, what are the things that on paper look like concerns, and what are the chances that they end up, if not being strengths, then at least not being season-diverting weaknesses for KU and K-State? We'll also talk plenty of Jayhawks with our guest today, Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He'll join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for a little thing we like to call Jayhawk Weekly. That is coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Plus, we got our typical Tuesday shenanigans on the program. 580 Sports Talk headlines, some big NBA news today that we'll get into a little bit. Got some local news, and I mean local. The Topeka Scarecrows have a new coach. We'll tell you all about that. Got World Cup roundup. Obviously, incredible action in the knockout stages. If you haven't been watching, you're missing out in the knockout stage in the World Cup. We'll do a random question Tuesday, Wascally Wabbit, and we'll crown a champion for the month of June on What Is Wrong With You. We're down to 2 stories, and I got to be honest with you, there are some show days I put together the rundown, and I put the stories in, and there are some months where I'm pretty sure I know who the champion is going to be. I don't know who I'm voting for. As I sit here right now, we're going to do What Is Wrong With You about an hour and 15 minutes, and I don't have any idea who I think is going to win June. No clue. Absolutely no idea. Anywho, we got all that to come on the program today. Plus your involvement with the show. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of 580 Sports Talk. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also, of course, check us out in the live chat on YouTube. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. We got that nice round 1,000 subscribers to look at on the admin page of our YouTube today. That was really pleasant. I stood and looked at that for a little bit. Thank you once again for getting us to 1,000. Now we got to work on the next 1,000 or the next couple. It took us a while to get to 1,000. I'm not gonna shoot for the moon just yet. But go subscribe if you have not yet. It's too late to be one of the historic first 1,000 subscribers. But if you want to be the start of the next 1,000, go subscribe today. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. And check out the live chat where the 580 Sports Talk community congregates and talks sports and food and whatever else they've got in mind throughout the show. And, of course, can interact with the hosts as well. See Christopher, Mark H. in the chat today. I see Vance. Brendand, I think that is. Welcome in. That's a new chatter. Welcome in. Appreciate everybody being in the chat today. Look forward to hearing from some more of you as we go along throughout the program today. Again, in the YouTube chat, 580 Sports Talk. So, yesterday on the show, based on an Arrowhead Addict article, we're talking about players on the current Chiefs roster, the 2026 Chiefs, who have a chance to be in line for contract extensions based on their performance in 2026. And we came to the conclusion that there aren't many. It would not be shocking if not a single member of the 2023 draft class was on the Chiefs roster in 2027. This is the final year of the 4-year rookie deals. We already know Felix Anudike-Uzomah didn't get the 5th-year option, so everybody is on an expiring contract who was drafted by the Chiefs in 2023. And really, it's just 3 guys. It's Felix, it's Rashee Rice, and it's Shamari Connor. I would say unlikely that any of those 3 receive contract extensions, and Rice is the only guy I think even has a chance of playing for the Chiefs next year. And again, we're talking a very slim chance given, the unpleasantness when you talk about Rashee Rice. The 2024 class, headlined by Xavier Worthy. If he gets a 5th-year option, he would hit free agency after the 2028 season. And then the rest of that 2024 draft class, I think, is also questionable as far as, are any of these guys going to be considered worthy, no pun intended, of long-term extensions? Kingsley Suamataia, probably the most likely, other than the first-round pick, to be around for a 5th season or more with the Chiefs. So I say all that to say, again, like we were talking about yesterday, there's not a lot of guys on this roster who are in imminent need of or are imminently likely to earn long-term deals from the Chiefs. So kick the can down the road a little bit with me. After 2028, the 2028 season, the following players hit free agency. The draft class of 2025, outside of Josh Simmons, who have the 5th-year option. So that's Omar Norman-Lott, Ashton Gelati, Noel Williams, Jalen Royals, Jeffrey Bassa, Brashard Smith. Xavier Worthy, if offered a 5th-year extension and not signed to a long-term deal, he would hit free agency after 2028. Also hitting free agency after 2028, some of this year's free agent signees: Kyrus Tonga, Alohi Gilman, Kenneth Walker III, all on 3-year deals. Harrison Butker's deal is up after 2028. Travis Kelce's deal on paper is up after 2028. I say on paper, the void years on that contract are set up in such a way that he's not seeing 2028 on this deal. If he plays to 2028, I mean, tip of the cap to him. I'd say that's pretty unlikely. But on paper, his deal's up after 2028. Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey would both be free agents following the 2028 season, and Chris Jones entering age 35 season would also be a free agent. That leaves the following players under contract, guys that look like they're going to make the 53-man roster this year. 53-man guys this year who are under contract into 2029, which will be Patrick Mahomes' age 35 season. Mahomes, obviously, George Karlaftis, Mansour Delane, and the rest of the 2026 draft class, and Josh Simmons if he's offered the fifth-year extension or otherwise extended. So that's your group of long-haul guys. Those are the only guys who are under contract to play for the Chiefs beyond the next 3 seasons. Well, why is that important? Because of that number, 35. Age 35 season for Patrick Mahomes. That is the time at which you want to be getting younger and you want to be building an infrastructure up around a quarterback, no matter how great that quarterback is, if you're going to win and win at a high level with them late in their career. So I would expect, and we're already starting to see it this year, not just with the way that the Chiefs maneuvered through the draft, but it really feels like the way intentionally that they are looking to build this roster on the back end of it. On the very top end, obviously, you've got the stars, the big money guys, Mahomes, Smith, Humphrey, Jones, Kelsey, those guys. Beyond that group, on the back end of the roster, if you consider Mahomes number 1 on the roster and Jones number 2 and the most important guys, number 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth, the Chiefs appear very intentionally, and we've heard this from Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider. We've heard this from Matt Verderam as well. Very intentionally appear to be building the roster in an attempt to get younger. And you're going to see that not just with this year's draft picks, but I think you're also going to see that with some UDFAs that have a chance to make this roster, whether they're UDFAs this year, Khalil Benson, Xavier Wampa, or whether they're UDFAs from prior seasons, practice squad guys like Andrew Armstrong, a wide receiver, or Esapole as the swing tackle on this roster. It feels like the Chiefs are, if not undertaking a full-blown youth movement, at the very least trying to get younger on the margins and begin the process of a slower burn on the youth movement. Like this isn't, they didn't tear down the roster around Patrick Mahomes, right? Like they didn't go into the season saying, all right, we're in rebuild mode other than our quarterback, and we're going to strip everything to the studs. We're going to get super young over the course of 1 year, and we're just going to reset everything. That's obviously not what's happened if you look at the roster. This is going to be a little bit more gradual, attempting to get the rosters to a place where it is younger. And frankly, I think that's the right thing to do. Just big picture. I think this roster will benefit from some youth, some vigor, some different energy, a different kind of hunger. But what that does is it really opens up the possibility for these young guys to not just be competing for their place, competing to get the Chiefs back to Super Bowls, but competing to be the guy, or guys more accurately, that are part of the core group that wins championships in Kansas City. Just as you associate the likes of Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, but also Tyreek Hill and Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark, and I'd throw in Joe Thuney, those guys who got paid handsomely and won a lot of games and won championships, plural, as Kansas City Chiefs. The chance to be the next group of guys who wins championships with Mahomes on the back nine of the great quarterback's career, that's all in front of a lot of guys. Because when you look at that group of players who hits free agency after 2028, again, that's Chris Jones, Travis Kelce on paper, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Harrison Butker, Kenneth Walker III, Alohi Gilman, Kyrus Tonga, Xavier Worthy, if he's extended on the 5th-year option, and the 2025 draft class. I think you can clearly see a vision of both Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey being long-term Chiefs and extending their contracts out probably even before the 2028 the offseason into 2029. But if you told me that anybody else on that list who wasn't drafted by the Chiefs didn't get additional years with the team, if you told me it was 3 and out for Walker and Gilman and Tonga, and you told me that the Chiefs decided to move on from a 35-year-old Chris Jones or that Travis Kelce had retired, none of those things would really surprise me. So you look at that draft class. Noel Williams, if he becomes a starting caliber corner, do the Chiefs maybe look at the secondary as a place to invest, even though they've never done it before? Does Ashton Gelati become a player, maybe not a core piece, at least in terms of how much you pay him, but does he become a guy who helps you on modest contracts, a modest extension, like the one Mike Dana got a couple of years ago? What about Nick Bolton? The Chiefs have to make that decision after 2027. Does he get a 3rd contract as a Chief? Not a lot of up-and-coming linebacker talent on the roster presently, but they've got this year and next to maybe identify who the next Nick Bolton is if they would choose not to make him part of the long term. And I think that's, frankly, probably a smart thing to do. I don't think you want to really invest in linebackers much beyond their very early 30s. But the big picture point I'm making is this. The next core of the Kansas City Chiefs is really just beginning to take shape. And it's beginning, ideally, with this 2026 draft class, with that group of players that's under contract into 2029, with Josh Simmons potentially being the franchise left tackle that the Chiefs, they've had and paid starting caliber guys, but they've not had the franchise left tackle. Let's be honest. Eric Fisher was a nice player, but he wasn't like Jonathan Ogden. He wasn't like Orlando Pace. He's not that guy. Josh Simmons could be that guy. Does he become that guy? The 2026 draft class is Peter Woods following in the footsteps of Chris Jones and becoming a dominant interior force that the Chiefs can have for the bulk of his prime. What about our Mason Thomas? What about Mansour Delane, the first-round pick? Is he going to be the cornerback that the Chiefs break the mold for and extend long-term, making him the first Chiefs defensive back to receive a contract extension after being drafted since Eric Berry? They're fascinating questions, and a lot of stuff can happen in the next 3 years that makes it difficult to predict. But I just had that thought yesterday as we were talking about how few players that are imminently eligible for long-term extensions from the Chiefs are not likely to receive them. That's going to leave the Chiefs in a position to go shopping in free agency in a way that they haven't really done much of. They've picked their spots in free agency, right? I mean, when they've taken their swings, they've taken their swings. Like Matthew, or I guess Frank Clark was more of a sign and trade type of deal. But they've been really intentional about free agency over the years. They've never been a team that's going to win the day one of free agency Super Bowl, right? And they're never going to get all the headlines on day one of free agency. None of the good organizations ever do. I don't know if you noticed that. But I could definitely see the Chiefs supplementing that group of players who's under contract into and through 2029 with some bigger swings in free agency than we're accustomed to seeing from them. They're going to have the opportunity to do that, and unfortunately, part of that is you have that opportunity because 2023 you didn't draft anybody worth giving an extension to. And 2024 you might not have. Xavier Worthy can change that narrative this year. He could. I'm bearish, but he could change that narrative. Maybe one of the second-year guys really makes a huge leap this year. But with the early returns on those 23 and 24 draft classes, I just don't think there's going to be a lot of money handed out to guys currently wearing the uniform. So the core of the Chiefs, what it's going to look like moving into Mahomes' future, I think there's a good chance that a bunch of the guys that we're talking about as core Chiefs in Mahomes' mid to late 30s aren't Chiefs yet. And whether that means they're just starting their college careers or whether that's they're just starting their NFL careers somewhere else, that will be what is really fascinating. 785-272-9429 on the text line, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube in the live chat. Want to hear from you throughout the show. We got our countdown to Chiefs kickoff coming up later this hour. It's Kingsley Suamataia days until Chiefs kickoff. We're going to talk some KU and K-State football later on. Talk more Jayhawks with Michael Swain, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for Jayhawk Weekly. Crown a monthly champion on What Is Wrong With You, and so much more. We got a great show for you today on this Tuesday. Thanks for being here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:34, we're just getting underway on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero hanging out with you. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour. This is a good summation of kind of what I was driving at with my point about they're not feeling like there are a lot of future core players on the current Chiefs roster. Guys that you would say definitively are future core players. Brendan in the live chat says on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, name of the YouTube channel, says Chiefs need to hit more home runs and fewer singles and doubles with their acquisitions. Delane has potential to be a star. Woods does, even if I'm skeptical. I don't know if Gelati can be a star. Just not enough heavy hitters 1 through 22. I think that's exactly it. When you talk about core guys, what you're talking about are elite players at their positions. And that's what the Chiefs had in the early Mahomes years, where you had the best tight end in the league, and he had the best interior pass rusher in the league in Chris Jones. He had an elite pass catcher with speed in Tyreek Hill, and obviously Mahomes. And you had an elite safety in Tyrann Mathieu. And as this era has gone on, it have been fewer and fewer of those guys that you would say are elite at their positions. Humphrey at center, certainly. Trey Smith at guard, definitely. But where are the other guys who are elite players at their positions? Granted, this is not entirely a criticism of the Chiefs' inability to get those guys because they're hard to get when you draft 31st and 32nd every year. That's the point of the draft, right? That's why they lay it out the way they do, to make it hard for the teams that win to draft really great players. Which is why this most recent draft is so important for the Chiefs. They have got to come away with some core pieces from this 2026 draft. And I think if both Delane and Woods do not emerge as core pieces, it's going to be a bit of a disappointment. You get one, great. You get one guy who's one of the elite at his position, if that's Delane or Woods. That's good. It's a good outcome. But, boy, your number 6 overall pick better be an elite player at his position. You better be able to anchor a secondary around Mansour Delane. Otherwise, you screwed that pick up. It's one thing to screw up the 32nd pick. Goodness knows, Brett Veach knows a little something about screwing up the 32nd pick. He's done that. A lot of GMs do that. It's hard to make the 32nd pick. But I think that's exactly right. Like the assessment of this roster is one that just is missing the elite tier guys that you build winners around, that you commit the long-term resources to, and that you call your core guys. Like right now, where the Chiefs stand, if you would consider the highest paid guys on the team to be core guys, then your core guys are George Karlaftis, Nick Bolton, still Kelsey, the diminished form of Travis Kelsey, still a top-tier tight end, but not the best at his position, unquestioned like he was there in his prime. And, I like George Karlaftis. I think he's paid appropriately, but I don't consider him to be an elite pass rusher. I like Nick Bolton more than most. I think he's paid appropriately. I wouldn't consider him to be an elite linebacker, an elite off-ball linebacker. Just very good, but a step shy of being elite, like impacting games, impacting winning in a major way. And it's hard to be an off-ball linebacker and do that. You can count on one hand the number of off-ball linebackers that have done that really probably in the last decade of football. There was a time. You had the Patrick Willises, the Luke Kuechly's, and Ray Lewis's. You had guys like that. Those guys are fewer and farther between now. It's just the impact of that player is diminished. You have fewer of those guys. Even guys like Bobby Wagner. Like, Bobby Wagner's 1 million years old. He's still one of the best players at that position. That tells you something about the value of that position. So, I think that's exactly right. Impactful, elite talent. Chiefs have to find those guys. And again, sometimes you hit a home run where you least expect to, right? Your third-round tight end turns into a Hall of Famer. Your second-round defensive tackle turns into a Hall of Famer. Chiefs are going to have a few more of those hit if they want to see at least the same level of success that they've experienced under in the Patrick Mahomes era. Good stuff from the live chat. That guy had to host his own show or something. You can also text the program 785-272-9429 if you'd like. We'll take a quick break here on the show. When we come back, it is 76 days until the Chiefs kick off the 2026 season, and number 76 is the Chiefs starting left guard. We'll talk about Big Kingsley next on 580 Sports Talk. We are 76 days from kickoff for the Kansas City Chiefs, starting the 2026 regular season. The final game of Week 1, Chiefs-Broncos at Arrowhead Stadium, Monday night, September 14th, right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. No Royals conflict that night to kick it. I checked. 76 days from the start of the NFL season for the Chiefs. And number 76, we continue our countdown to Chiefs kickoff, is left guard Kingsley Suamataia, the former second-round pick, out of BYU. His time as the Chiefs left tackle was short like leprechauns. He couldn't quite handle the heat, but with a position switch late in his rookie year, his second season was much more promising. Pro Football Focus, for whatever these are worth, graded Kingsley as a roughly average starting guard last season. If you consider there to be 64 starting guards in the NFL, each team has 2, he graded 36th out of 81 qualifying guards in overall PFF grade. He was 40th in run blocking, 26th in pass blocking, which is a bit of a surprise given, I would even say, given the perception of what Suamataia's strengths and weaknesses were as a first-year starter at left guard. I certainly thought he'd take to the run blocking, the more physical aspect of interior offensive line play like a duck to water, and that is what I saw. That is just the eye test told me that Kingsley held his own in run blocking, and it's not like PFF said he stunk at it. I was a little surprised to see he had such a good pass blocking grade, but he only allowed 3 sacks all year. And look, maybe having the tackle experience makes you a better pass blocker as a guard. So 2 big questions for Kingsley entering 2026. The first one is, can he get better? I don't see why not. I don't see why that couldn't be a possibility for a player who not only made the growth that he made in his first year starting games in the NFL at what was virtually a new position. I didn't throw him in there like 2 days before week 1. He had the offseason. He'd had a little bit of run there late in his rookie year, but a virtually new position. And to give a season's worth of average performance, and not just to do that, but to be like the guys next to him on the interior, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, a consistent presence in the middle of that offensive line. That, I think, augurs pretty well for another step forward for Suamataia next year, where he could perform on an above-average level. This is not me saying I'm predicting an all-pro 2026 season for Kingsley Suamataia, but I think he's got a ceiling at least a little bit above the average level of play that he displayed in 2025. So that's the answer for me for that first question. Yes, Kingsley Suamataia can get better. Here's the second question. How much are the Chiefs going to be willing to pay Kingsley Suamataia moving forward? Is there any amount of money that they'd be looking to extend their left guard, already paying Trey Smith $23.5 million a year? So I was trying to find a group of other starting guards, like consistent starting level guards in the NFL, and what they make annually. And I found 3 guys, pretty wide array of like NFL experience here, but 3 guys, relatively young guys who are on second or third contracts. Ben Bredesen of the Buccaneers, John Runyon of the Giants, Cesar Ruiz of the Saints. All 3 of those guys are starting guards in the NFL. Ironically enough, all 3 of them went to Michigan. Those guys would be considered shy of the elite level. Like we're not talking about Pro Bowlers, we're not talking about all pros, but generally speaking, those are solid starting guards in the NFL. Ben Bredesen's on a 3-year deal, paying him $7.33 million a year. Runyon's on 3 years, $30 million. Ruiz is on 4 years, $44 million. I think that's a palatable number for the Chiefs to pay a second guard if they value that continuity on the interior. And the money they gave Humphrey and Smith suggests that they do. But again, we're talking about elite talent. We just had that conversation. That if you're going to guarantee money, like real money, beyond like I don't consider Noah Gray to be on real money, right? It's $6 million. That's kind of real money, but that's not like going to really impact your salary cap. Mike Dana, like a contract like that. There's a difference between a guy who's on a contract like that and then the guys in the league who are making above average market value with their positions. Star money, if you want, for whatever the definition of star is at their position. Could the Chiefs really do star money for two guards? If that's a dilemma that they're confronting at any point in the next 2 years, that's a good problem because it means Kingsley Suamataia got even better. It's a good problem. But if the time comes after the 2027 season, or maybe even before 2027, let's say Kingsley takes a big year 3 jump, and let's say he does perform like one of the top 15 or 20 starting guards in the league, proves that he's definitively starting caliber. Would the Chiefs think maybe extension, maybe in a $10, $11, $12 million range? The way the cap keeps going up, maybe you can stomach that a little bit and lock down Kingsley Suamataia for the duration of the contracts of his interior line mates. Remember, Smith and Humphrey are under contract through 2028. Would you do maybe a 3-year extension with Kingsley if he proves himself to be a legit above-average starting left guard in the league following his 2026, his 3rd season? Could you do it at a number that would make some sense? And what number is that makes sense for your second highest paid guard? That's the other question you got to ask yourself. Because there are not a lot of teams paying multiple guards substantial money. There's not a lot of teams paying guards substantial money as it is. But here, I'm pulling up the list on Spotrac right now of NFL guards and average annual salaries for those players. There's one team that has multiple starting guards making top 12 money at the position. One team, the Chicago Bears, Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. You broaden the scope a little bit. Carolina's paying Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis above average guard money. The Denver Broncos are paying Quinn Miners and Ben Powers above average guard money. The Jaguars are paying Cole Van Lanen and Patrick McCarry above average guard money. Should they be doing that? A different conversation. But Carolina made the playoffs last year, won the division. Denver obviously was maybe a Bo Nix injury away from reaching the Super Bowl. Chicago very nearly made the conference championship game in the NFC. So it's not a deterrent, but also Chicago, quarterback on a rookie deal. Denver, quarterback on a rookie deal. And Carolina, quarterback on a rookie deal. So the Kingsley Suamataia decision is a really interesting one. And if it's in any way a hard decision for the Chiefs to make moving forward, if it's a hard decision for them going into 2027 or as he approaches free agency, I would think that would be a good problem for the Chiefs to have. Because I could see him playing his way into the level of player of like a Micah Onwenu for New England who makes $10 million a year. Or, like I said, Ruiz is at $11 million a year. Damian Lewis is at $13.25 million a year. Like, that's probably in the range of where you're going to be talking about in a best-case scenario for Kingsley as he hits free agency. Can you do that for two guards? Even if one of them is arguably the best right guard in the NFL. And the Chiefs' answer to that question is going to reveal a lot about, again, back to the opening of this hour. What are they going to prioritize putting around Patrick Mahomes as he enters his mid to late 30s? What are they going to decide is most important to make sure that he's got? Is it weapons? Is it protection? Is it the peace of mind of a nasty defense? We're going to learn a lot. We're a long way from finding out the answers to those questions. We'll take one more break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we'll wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to my friends at Calhoun's Jewelers. You want to be treated like the most valuable player every time you walk in the door. Calhoun's Jewelers will do that. Calhoun's Jewelers will help you design the ring of your dreams or your significant other's dreams. I know that me and my wife are so happy with the rings we purchased at Calhoun's Jewelers back when we were going through that process, and I put that engagement ring on my wife's finger all the way back in 2020, and we got married in 2022 and 2021. We got engaged in 21. It was 21. It was not 22. That's my mistake. We got married in 22. Whatever the year was, it was a delightful experience purchasing our rings with the good people at Calhoun's Jewelers. They really do. They treat you like the MVP every time you walk in the door. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up the hour of 580 Sports Talk. One additional reason, it's a selfish one, but one additional reason I'd like to see the Chiefs find a way to keep Kingsley Suamataia around long term is that I finally learned how to spell his name. I don't have to cheat. I don't have to look. I've got the name down pat. Suamataia. It's not that hard, but there's a lot of vowels in there. You got to make sure they're in the right order. That would definitely be an early, that'd be one of the first words that knocks some people out on an NFL spelling bee. That would be one that would get you. I'm squared away on the baseball spelling bee. They did Major League Baseball spelling bee. I can give you Minkiewicz. I can give you Grzelcyk. I can even give you Yastrzemski. But don't give me Repchinski. That's going to be a tough one for me. Or Saltalamakia. Too many vowels in that name for sure. We're going to talk some college football coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Who's getting excited for college football? We're a week away from Big 12 Media Days. Can you believe that? 1 week. I'll be at the Star in Frisco drinking Dr. Pepper with Pistol Pete. Maybe Monster Energy this year. Maybe there won't be any soda. Maybe it's just Monster Energy since they're the presenting sponsor of this year's Big 12 Media Days. But we're a week out of that. Starting to think college football. The hype not as much, not as great for KU and K-State coming into this season. That's understandably so. What are the primary concerns you might have about the prospects for the Jayhawks and the Wildcats in the upcoming Big 12 football season? And how can those concerns be ameliorated? How can those teams reasonably work around or improve on those perceived or anticipated weaknesses? Also coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, we'll crown a June champion on What Is Wrong With You. And we'll speak with our KU insider, Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He will join us for Jayhawk Weekly at the bottom of the next hour. So don't you go anywhere. We're just getting revved up. We've got 2 more hours to hang out together on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday. Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis with you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We are also on our app. We got the app cooking. MSC Radio is the name of the app. You want to listen to us on your phone, wherever you go, that's the place. That's where you go do it. Again, MSC Radio in the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can listen to us. You can listen to the 9 other stations under the MSC Radio banner. And you jump right into it is the beautiful part. You don't have to listen to 3 minutes of iHeart or what's the other one? TuneIn,
Odyssey.
Or Odyssey. You don't have to listen to 3 minutes of pre-roll that they're trying to spoon feed you. No, you right into the show. Right into the show. And I understand you can do it like CarPlay, if you got CarPlay or Android Auto.
Oh, that's sweet. I did not know that.
I think it's functional with that. So, yeah, check out the app, the MSC Radio app today. Still to come on today's edition of 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk to Michael Swain, bottom of this hour, from Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. And with Michael today, we'll talk about some of the pro destinations for former Kansas basketball players. We'll get his thoughts heading into Big 12 Media Days, which is next week. We'll talk to Michael probably either at or just before Big 12 Media Days next week. We'll get his perspective on what he hears or what he's expecting to hear from the KU contingent. So that's coming up this hour. Also still to come, the June championship on What Is Wrong With You. We're going to crown a champion on What Is Wrong With You this week, or this month. We're going to crown one this year. We always crown one every week. We crown one at the end of the year. We've got to come up with our June champion. And I said this at the top of the show, and still true, I still don't know which story I'm going to vote for. I still have no idea.
Me neither.
They're both so good.
Yeah.
Very excited for the championship today. Again, the winner today will join our other monthly champions for the year, which, if you need a refresher, Gone Postal on a Porch Pirate, That Ain't Chalkboard Dust, The Urinator in the Incinerator, Galloping Under the Influence, and Wade Mode. Those are our 5 champions so far
Wade Mode
for the year 2026. We're going to have one join them later on. Will it be the Swift and the Senile, or will it be It's Okay, I'm a Street Lawyer? That debate is coming up on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk some Big 12 football here at the top of the hour, too, and discuss the concerns we might have with where KU and K-State are standing coming into the 2026 Big 12 season. If you missed it yesterday, we did get to 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Thank you again for getting us to that high water mark. I know that maybe there's people tuning in today that may have just noticed if you're checking out the YouTube that we've crossed to 1,000. Want to get to let's start on the next 1,000 today. By the way, go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have yet to do so. You can say you subscribed when it still wasn't cool, not before it was cool. When it still wasn't cool. When we get to 1 million, we can say it's cool, right? How that works. But no, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate you hanging out with us over there. 580 Sports Talk's name of the channel. For those who missed that announcement, that bit of news, we are, again, leaning in the direction. We want to make sure we get the particulars right and really do this right. And we also have to really get the particulars of, like, when to do it on the show right.
Yeah.
But we are leaning towards something food-based, a challenge for Spencer and I for 1,000 subscribers. That is the direction we are leaning towards, but we want to make sure it's set and it's ready and it's good before we confirm that for all of you. But again, you've earned that for us. You have made us. You're going to make us earn it, and we're excited to do that for you here coming up.
I think too we're gonna try to find somebody in it's a food-based challenge, so some place that sells food.
Right, we
want
want
it to be one of those places locally here in the community. We
would love to involve local businesses with this particular challenge. So we're just putting it all together, and we're going to roll that out, and we'll as soon as we have the details hammered down. All we have for you now is the tease. Yes. We have the tease, but that's better than nothing. That's better than. Are you guys going to do a kegger? No, we can't do a kegger. Like, I wish. It'd be fun.
I don't know. I see all these established shows, and they do their annual Christmas drinking show or whatever. Or how do they get around that? I don't know, man.
It's a good question, and one that frankly, I do not have the answer for.
Yeah, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of trying to get an answer because it's always going to be no.
So, yeah, I think our boss is probably frown upon it for certain. Anyway, we're a week away from Big 12 Media Days, which is pretty cool. And being a week away from Big 12 Media Days, talked about it a little bit on last week, that some of the two signs, the sure signs that college football is drawing near, the college football video game is about to come out, and the Phil Steele guide is on the shelves. This is an old copy. I'm holding it up to the screen right now. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding it up to the screen. This is an old copy. This is the 2023 edition. There's Cooper Beebe on the cover.
Camera looks great, by the way.
Thank you. I made it myself. So if you're familiar with the Phil Steele preview, you know what I mean. If you're not familiar, you've never cracked one of these things. The font is just incredibly small.
Yeah.
Like it's size 8 font. And it has to be because, again, this book is jam-packed with information. Here's what I am growing dismayed to learn. Might be getting a little old for the old size 8 font. Starting to become a bit more of a struggle. Now, like I wear contacts. I see an eye doctor every year. Like my eyes are in pretty good shape. I'm just saying, starting to feel the strain.
Yeah.
Of reading the Phil Steele guide in a way that a younger me, also wearing, corrective contact lenses, did not feel the strain. That's all I'm saying. That, if Phil needs to double the size of the book so we can have a large print version, like that's the next step, right? I feel like one day I can't read the Phil Steele guide, and the next day I'm sizing up the font just a little bit on iMessage, right? Like, getting to that point in my life, I'm a little terrified of that. A lot of signifiers of age, right? And that's one of them that I'm not too fond of. Got to read a little bit on the airplane. I do wonder the reaction, like if somebody is not a college football sicko and they see you pull out the Phil Steele at the airport or in an airplane, maybe look out of the corner of their eye. How's he reading that? And my answer now is like, not very well. Not as well as I used to.
Hey, the problem is, if Phil Steele doubles the amount of pages, whatever you're paying for that,
it's going to double the price.
Times 2.
No, it's going to double the price.
Which I would imagine it's gone up a lot in the last 10 years.
Yeah, this copy in 2023 costs $20. I paid $25
for
this year. Well, look, here's the thing. They keep adding teams to the FBS, right? So that's more content. Like you got to put Sacramento State and North Dakota State in this year. How many people remember that? Hands up. North Dakota State's FBS now.
And
what league do they play in? Quick.
I don't know, but they got a major win because I don't know if we talked about this on the show.
We did not.
They can go bowling.
They are in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Sacramento State. What league are they in?
The new Pac 12
No, that would make too much sense. Sacramento State's in the MAC.
Jeez.
Sacramento State is in the MAC.
Oh, wait, I think I knew this because they got to play Maction.
Yes. Northern Illinois is in the Mountain West.
They got to play Maction. Their team has to play a Maction game.
Yeah.
Their local time, I think it's going to be like 2:00 or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's again, that's how you get you stay abreast. I've been reading Been reading the guide for years and years, and starting to feel the eye strain. But anyway, so I got a chance to read a little bit of the Phil Steele's Big 12 previews while I was traveling over the weekend. He's got Kansas State right around the middle of the pack. He's got KU down towards the bottom of the Big 12 pack this year. And looking at Kansas State, we'll do Kansas State first. They got a new head coach. And anytime, even when it's a head coach with not just the familiarity with the program that a former player has, but the familiarity with the program that a former assistant coach has. And Colin Klein, of course, wore both of those hats at Kansas State. But a new coach is still a new coach. And a first-time head coach is still a first-time head coach. So there's a lot of uncertainty. Kansas State has been one of those programs that you could kind of count on what to expect from them year over year. Certainly in the Bill Snyder era, you kind of knew what you were going to get from them. And I think over the course of time with Chris Kleiman, you knew what you were going to expect from a Kansas State team. And the last couple of years were really the first couple of times, I shouldn't say the first couple of times, but one of those rare occasions over the course of the last 30, 35 years of Kansas State football where Kansas State did not deliver on expectations. Typically, that's not what happens. Kansas State's a program that very often outstrips their perceived level of expectation on a year-to-year basis. And the last 2 years, that wasn't the case. 8 wins 2 years ago, last year finishing 6-6 and opting out of the bowl because Chris Kleiman was retiring. So there was always that thought that you knew what to expect with Kansas State, and you knew maybe a little bit play style-wise what you were going to expect with Kansas State. And now you go into this year and don't have quite as much of that. So as far as concern with Kansas State, I think there are two things that I look at, and they're very closely intertwined. The two things that I have the most concern about when it comes to Kansas State for 2026. Number one is the offensive line. Number two is the defensive line. And I think Phil Steele ranked K-State's O-line 15th out of 16 in the Big 12. I meant to grab my copy so I could have referred to it offhand, but I forgot. But it's not a very high ranking for Kansas State's offensive line. That's even with a returning all-conference performer in John Pastore at one of the tackle spots. It's just not a group with a lot of experience, not a group with a lot of continuity, and frankly, the last 2 years since the departure of all that Kansas beef, has not been as good an offensive line for Kansas State. They have not played to the level that you expect a Kansas State offensive line to play at. And this is a new group, and it's really hard to build an offensive line through the portal. And Kansas State's trying to take another swing at it, but they do have more guys this year that have been around a while. Of course, last year, the expected starter at left tackle, George Fitzpatrick, never got to take the field because of that health scare that he had in the fall camp that caused a hospitalization and caused him to lose a lot of weight. We never did see George back on the field. Could he factor in this year? Phil Steele's got him penciled in as the right tackle, and he doesn't do that offhand. That's because that's what he's hearing. That's because he's what he's heard if he's talked to coaches. So, chance to get him back and Pastore at left tackle. Like there's some guys there that I think could be good, but it's a question mark in a way that I think for a lot of years you just sort of assumed Kansas State was going to figure it out on the O-line. And after last season and going into this year with a new coaching staff, do they still have that benefit of the doubt? I'm not sure. On the defensive line, K-State lost a lot of talent on D-line. Toby Osunsami going to IU. Ryan Davis going to Baylor. Like, they lost some guys. Chidi Obiaizer also ended up at IU. Couldn't come up with his name, but I remember there was one more IU guy. It was Chidi. So, that is 3 of your best pass rushers all move on. And you're going to do something different up front this year. Kansas State is. They're going to go away from that 3-man front that they'd had and to a more traditional 4-man front in 2026. Now, what that front is going to look like, I don't know. But they're probably a year away at least from having the bodies on hand that you would like to have if you're making a philosophical switch from a 3-man front to a 4-man front, because it's different kinds of defensive linemen that you're looking for if you're only playing 3 of them relative to if you're playing 4 of them. So the guys they have on hand, it's different now. You can do the portal, so it's a little different. It's not quite the same. But do you have the guys on hand to make that work? Wendell Gregory's a big step in the right direction. Like, he could be a monster right away. He could wind up being statistically more impactful than any Kansas State rusher was last year. Have a bigger year than Toby or Cheedy or Ryan Davis. That would not surprise me in the least. And they've got some other intriguing pieces on that D-line too. But again, it's pulling it all together. And it is not easy, certainly not as easy as Texas Tech made it look last year. It is not easy to build the trenches through the portal. So those are my areas of concern. And it's why I think there's pause, because if you just told me Kansas State's going to run an offense that'll better suit their blue-chip quarterback prospect who's entering his 4th year as a starter and who's got a lot of weapons back, and they don't play, on paper, the 3 best teams in the Big 12. They've got a very friendly schedule. If that's all you know about K-State, you probably look at them as a sleeper in the league as a whole.
Yeah.
But, man, if there's one place you want to have a lot more stability or a lot less questions, it's the trenches. And that's where my questions are for K-State right now. Now, if they're answered in the affirmative, if the offensive line does gel, if Gregory does lead a defensive line that can make splash plays, then Kansas State, I think, does have a chance. I mean, their Vegas over-under being set 8.5, that didn't happen by accident. Those buildings are big in Vegas for a reason. For Kansas, I think the answer everybody would jump to would be, well, yeah, they got to figure out quarterback. They got to figure out, is it going to be Cole Ballard? Is it going to be Isaiah Marshall? Is it going to be Chase Jenkins?
And for what it's worth, Cole Ballard was invited to the Manning Passing Academy as a counselor.
That is interesting.
I don't know what that means, but...
It means he was invited to the Manning Passing Academy. It means he's a veteran quarterback, and also it means for Cole Ballard, he has connections.
That too. That's why I didn't know what that means.
That's part of it. That's part of it. But, like, I think there will be 2 things there. I think one of those 3 is going to be an acceptable option. I just don't think you want to be in a spot where you go into the year and it doesn't feel like you had one separate. Fall camp is going to be very important because it doesn't sound like anybody really separated in the spring, and that is a red flag. But the other part of this is I think Kansas is going to be all right on offense because I think really highly of Andy Kotelnicki. I think really highly of him as a play caller. He got Drew Aller drafted, man.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about? He got Drew Aller drafted. That guy stinks, and he got Drew Aller drafted. So I think Andy Kotelnicki's really good at making sure whatever skill, talent you have, they're utilized in a way that best suits their skill set. You're going to get the most out of whoever it is that wins that job. So that's maybe less of a concern for me than it might be for others. I think they're going to find a solution. Now, again, I reserve the right, if they go into week 1 and Lance Leipold's still hemming and hawing about his starting quarterback because nobody separated in the fall, that would be a problem. That would be unwelcome news.
Yeah.
And that's also why I'm less concerned about the skill talent, because, again, I think they're going to find something. I think if you're going to have a group that's untested or a bunch of new guys and feel like, all right, we're gonna make it work, it's at the skill spots. It's at running back or it's at wide receiver. Somebody's gonna emerge. Whether that's Dylan Edwards, whether that's Nick McMillan at wide receiver, they're gonna find guys who make plays. And Andy Kotelnicki's gonna scheme some good stuff up. I think KU ends up fine on offense. I think they end up in a similar place as they were last year on offense. The big question for me is relative inexperience on defense. Again, outside of Leroy Harris, who's going to rush the passer? And is the secondary going to be more athletic and more physical than it was last year? Because it wasn't really either of those things. We talked to Michael Swain about that, and he pointed out that was a real need, and early returns from the spring were really positive about the level of athleticism on that side of the ball and in that position group in particular. But that, to me, is where Kansas lost a lot of games last year, is they couldn't get any stops. They couldn't get Brendan Sorsby off the field or keep him out of the end zone. They win that game, they go bowling. And they should have won that game. There were a couple of others that they had and could not come up with a stop that would have delivered them victory. So that's my concern for Kansas. It's more on the back end defensively and then a little bit the front end as well. I'm less worried. Like, I maybe feel better than some do about Kansas's bowl prospects because I've just come to the idea that they're going to find a solution at quarterback. They're going to find something that works for them. And I don't necessarily know who that's going to be. My money's on Ballard. I just think he's the more trustworthy hand, and he has more experience. But I also know Andy Kotelnicki's not shy about getting two quarterbacks on the field, even at the same time. And there's a difference between doing it as a gimmick and doing it because you genuinely don't know which quarterback is better. I think they'll be at a place where they're doing it in a gimmicky fashion, but not like in the negative connotation of that word, a way to confuse the defense and drop some gadget type stuff. I think that's where you'll see that. So I'm less concerned about that for KU, honestly. We're going to take a timeout, come back, crown a June champion on What Is Wrong With You. We'll talk more Jayhawks with Michael Swain on Jayhawk Weekly. But first, I want to tell you about this opportunity for the brave men and women in uniform who have served or are now serving our country from our friends at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon here in Topeka. They'd like to show their appreciation for your service and dedication. So, if you have served or are now serving, Eagle Auto Wash is offering you a free full-service wash this week through July 4th. All you've got to do for your car, SUV, pickup, or van, veterans or active military personnel must show their current U.S. service ID card, retired ID, or veterans organization card to the cashier, and you will get a free full-service wash. And nobody does it like the locally owned Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. They may not be able to repay your sacrifice, but they can give you a clean ride and a great big thank you. So come see Topeka's heroes shine at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon right here in the capital city. We'll take that break, come back with What Is Wrong With You June Championship on 580 Sports Talk. It is time to crown our June champion On What Is Wrong With You, we have cut it down to 2 remarkable stories, but only one can advance as our 6th entrant into December's Tournament of Fail Champions here on 580 Sports Talk. 2 stories competing for our June championship. In one corner, the swift and the senile. Lake County, Florida deputies arresting 2 people, one of whom was 85 years old, to face charges that included street racing. 11:30 p.m. on a Friday night, a red Corvette and a gray 2-door sports car spotted traveling at a high rate of speed. The Corvette was traveling 125 miles per hour, the gray car 110, and both were in a 45 mile per hour zone. One deputy pulled over the Corvette. Another deputy went after the gray car and conducted a traffic stop. The driver of the gray car was 85-year-old William Bosworth of Leesburg, and he said the other driver swerved at him and shouldn't have done that. He said he was out having a ride in his favorite car and wasn't trying to have any problem with anybody before he reacted to the alleged swerving, apparently by trying to catch the guy in the Corvette in his favorite car. The Corvette driver, 57-year-old Philip Signorino of Titusville, faces the same charges, street racing and dangerous speeding. While being arrested, Signorino denied having reached those high speeds, claiming his Corvette was incapable of going that fast. I think I just laughed in somebody's face. They told me, yeah, my Corvette doesn't go that fast.
My Corvette.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Not
really?
My smart car.
When the deputy, I have an additional link here. When the deputy addressed Bosworth's alleged street racing, the 85-year-old responded, "No, that guy. He swerved at me. He swerved at me, and I wanted to get away from him before we caused a problem." Well, I can think one way to get away from the car going 125 miles an hour, go substantially less fast and not try and run him down at 110 miles per hour. He just said he was out having a little ride in his favorite car. 85-year man. I hope when I'm 85, I've got enough sharpness to still be driving. Yeah. I know that's not something you can take for granted when you get to that age. But I certainly hope I've got enough, dexterity and ability to open it up like the homie William Bosworth.
That's crazy, man.
The other story is our street lawyer, 30-year-old Derek Shoffis of Palm Bay, Florida, who popped up in the middle of a traffic stop where the driver was about to be arrested after drugs were found in the vehicle. Shoffis just appears in the body cam footage, the traffic cam, wearing a full suit and tie to speak to the police officers, claiming to be the woman's attorney. He asked to speak on the driver's behalf, asked about legal procedures, the existence of probable cause, and even attempted to negotiate a deal on scene. The driver was arrested, and Shoffis was also ended up being arrested because the woman told police, "Yeah, I know that guy. That's Derek. He's my lawyer." But when the police had asked Derek what his name was, he didn't say his name was Derek. He identified himself with the name of a real attorney, who it was later found had represented him in a previous DUI case. When further questioned about the name Derek Shoffis, his real name, he said, "Oh, yeah, that's the name of my firm's secretary." So police called the real lawyer and said, "No, that's not me. I was not at the traffic stop. I did not give this guy permission to represent me." Police also spoke to Shoffis' father, who told the police, "No, my son is not a lawyer, but he's known to be the street lawyer."
To be the street lawyer.
So we've got 85-year-old man going 110, and we've got the street lawyer. Gosh, I love both of these stories. I hate to pick a winner.
I don't know. Just this guy. I just can't get over this guy representing himself as the lawyer. His dad even knows he represents himself as the street lawyer.
He just walk around in a suit and tie all the time. Do we think that's what he does?
Perhaps.
Just wakes up, gets suited and booted, and says, "I wonder who I can help with their legal challenges today. I hope I run up on a traffic stop today.
I just can't imagine, right?
Just
like
cruising the streets of Florida, looking for somebody being pulled over so he can stop in and say, "Hey, excuse me, do you have probable cause for this?" I'm their lawyer.
I think that one wins for me, though.
Known to be. What does that mean? What does it mean to be the street lawyer? What is his dad talking about?
I don't know, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, this story leaves me with so many more questions than answers. And that's why I think it's got to be the winner. As much as I love the thought of an 85-year-old man street racing, I'm also terrified by the thought of an 85-year-old man street racing. Don't street race, no matter what age you are, 16 to 116. Don't drive 110 in a 45. I don't care if you're in your favorite car or what. Just don't do it. Generally speaking, we don't condone that.
The only time you should be driving 116 miles an hour is if you are on a racetrack with a race car.
Yes, or the Autobahn. They look upon it a little more fondly there.
Yeah, that too.
But at the same time, that is sort of a terrifying story, and also a little bit more understandable than a guy just popping up with a suit and tie. Be like, "Hey, yeah, the street lawyer's here, ready to help see to it that justice is served to my client."
So I have the final question, though. Did he just roll up and the cop was talking at the window, or was the cop in the car? He went up to the girl's window and said, "Hey, this is my name. I'm going to represent you here. I'm going to figure out what's going on." Like, I want to know that detail because, like, did she know the guy?
Yeah,
because that's even crazier if she already knew him and he just rolled. Like, did she message him and be like, "Yo, come here. Like, you're my lawyer." Like, what? Like, I don't like.
Yeah, like I said, a lot more questions than answers. Maybe we'll find some answers when we see it again in December, because It's Okay, I'm a Street Lawyer is our June champion on What Is Wrong With You. We're going to take a break. Michael Swain of Fog.net joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael covers the Jayhawks at Fog.net. If you're a VIP subscriber to 24/7 Sports, you get access to all his outstanding reporting, and he joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. And, Michael, we are squarely in that dead period, which means thank goodness we're a week away from Big 12 Media Days.
Yeah, we need something to talk about. I was looking at my schedule for content for kind of this week and next week, and I was scratching my head of like, man, what exactly are we going to talk about? Thankfully, I found some stuff for later this week. But yeah, it is a dead time of year, and there really is not a whole lot going on unless you want to talk World Cup. That's pretty much it. But in terms of Kansas stuff, Summer League hasn't started yet for Darren. Obviously, KJ Adams is going to play Summer League, which is great for him. But that's really where we're at right now. It's kind of waiting for some stuff to start, and thankfully, kind of this time next week, we'll have a lot more to talk about, I think.
Which of the 5 Jayhawks who is going to represent the squad at next week's Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas, are you most interested in hearing from and getting a little FaceTime with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think Cam Pickett is really interesting to talk to because I think the injury last year really impacted him and really kept him from, I think, reaching the highs of what he could, right? He has a great start against Fresno State. And then from there, has the ankle sprain that kind of really limited him through most of the year. And I think he's a really interesting guy to talk to. And obviously from the group, right, it's Calvin Clements, Cam Pickett, Blake Harold, Leroy Harris, Trey Lathan. Trey is also a really interesting guy. So I think he and Cam are probably the two that I'm probably most interested to talk to. But it's a good group for KU and some guys that I think can really speak well about their experience in the program because you've got so much differing experience from that group, right? You got 2 high school recruits that KU signed in the 23 class in Calvin and Blake, and then you've got guys who transferred in, one from Big 12 program and Trey, and then others from lower tier programs, and so you've kind of got a good range of backgrounds I think you can dive into. So that part should be pretty fun.
Michael Swain of Fog.net joins us here for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Michael, again, joins us every Tuesday at this time. KU did finish out their football roster. They added the rest of their high school signees. They added their PWOs, a JUCO transfer as well. Obviously, with the PWOs, those are guys who, certainly start their careers as program players. But of that list of the incoming signees that didn't participate in spring practice, anybody you look at with a bit of a more interested eye going into the fall, maybe at a position of need or just based on their recruiting helium coming in?
Yeah, so I think when you look at the modern kind of age of these guys that arrive in the summer, camp is really hard. It really is, because unlike the guys that early enroll who get spring practice, and spring practice is generally slower, right? It's not every day. It's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday kind of schedule. So camp can be really hard for those really true freshmen who are going through their first kind of practices with the program. But I think, a couple of guys that I'll have at least my eye on for like the long-term impact, I look at Kevin Sullivan coming from Rockhurst. He's someone that decided to play basketball as a senior. Looking at some of the photos and videos that I've seen of him on campus, he looks a lot bigger than I think you saw in the basketball season. So clearly some of the weight room stuff has gone well for him. I think he's going to be an interesting player for KU, not this fall, but as a 12-month, hey, we're keeping an eye on this guy, just because the tight end position for KU is one where they're going to need some young guys to step up next year. I think we talked a little about Mason Oglesby, a recent commit last week. But I look at, whether it be Jack Oots or Kevin Sullivan, you're going to need one of these guys maybe to start to show some things where you can get some spot reps from them, because I don't know that KU's going to go and get 2-3 guys from the portal at tight end. So it's going to be a really interesting year for him. I think someone like NaQuane Carter from Oklahoma, again, as a D tackle, right, he's not going to play a bunch as a true freshman. But as KU's transitioned into this new defensive line, that's going to be versatile, right? Whether it be kind of your 3-down looks, your 4-down looks. How does someone like NaQuane fit into that conversation in the long run? And I think you could even throw in Drayden Punt there from Iowa, like 6'7", 240, like guy that has basketball background, like he's an interesting prospect. So those are kind of the 3 that I think are really intriguing in terms of the long-term projection, just because they've kind of either fit the size frame profile, or they're at a position where KU's going to need some young guys to step up over the next kind of year and a half.
You mentioned punt. Were you surprised he ended up at DN? I mean, with that 6'7" frame, not a ton of 6'7" defensive ends out there.
No, not really. But I think what you got to look at with him is how much weight can you put on him, and then does he transition into being kind of your, what you think of like for your Iowa State, old K-State 3-down scheme, where he's a guy that plays as kind of a defensive end, playing a little bit maybe closer to a 265. Looking at him on the basketball court, I think he's got plenty of room to grow with his frame. And once you kind of get into that defensive end and a 3-down front, then all of a sudden you look at him and say, okay, yeah, you do see a little bit more of your kind of 6'7", 260 guys. And those guys, honestly, if they're athletic, those guys make it in the NFL, right? Because combining that size and ability to move isn't super common. So I think he really is an intriguing prospect in the long term.
We're joined by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. He joins us every Tuesday at this time. Again, if you're a VIP subscriber to 24/7 Sports, you get access to all of Michael's in-depth reporting and writing on the Jayhawks. You mentioned basketball a little bit, so let's pivot there for a moment. Obviously, Darren Peterson goes number 2 overall to Utah, which is what we were kind of projecting. Last week when we spoke was the day of the first round of the NBA draft. No other Jayhawk heard their name called, but Trey White and Melvin Council both got Exhibit 10 deals and opportunities elsewhere. Melvin Council with the New Orleans Pelicans. What do you think about their opportunities that they're going to have this summer? And is the chance to maybe get a two-way deal on the table for somebody like Council in particular with a rebuilding Pelicans team?
The two-way for the Pelicans is going to be tough because obviously Hunter Dickinson's already taking one of those spots on the two-way contract. So I think for Melvin, probably what you're looking for him is, can you show that, hey, you're going to be a G League guy in your first kind of year, where if you go, whether it be sticking with New Orleans or a different team, where you can maybe end up earning your way into being one of those two-way spots, maybe in year 2. I think that's probably the outlook for him. I think Trey White with the Heat is interesting. Obviously, the Heat traded to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. They lost some depth. I think you're looking at him and saying, hey, could you maybe earn yourself a two-way spot there? I think that's probably the best case scenario. I'm not sure about making the roster straight up to begin things for Trey, but I think when you look at the Heat, they're going to need some cheap end-of-the-bench guys, and I think Trey, at least, if he can continue to shoot like he did at KU last year, right, if he's shooting 40% from 3, like, that's something NBA teams are going to look at. Even if he drops down to like a 37, 38, right, that's great. Teams will take that. So I think really for him, I'm watching, hey, how can you shoot during Summer League? Is what you showed during your senior year at KU something that's really translatable? Or is it, hey, he had a hot year, right? He's going to revert back to kind of being the 33% shooter that he was from his college career. So I think really interesting summers for both guys. I probably like Trey's outlook a little bit more than Melvin's right now, but obviously we'll have to see how the summer goes.
You also mentioned KJ Adams. He's going to get a chance to suit up in the Summer League. He's on the roster for the Golden State Warriors in the NBA's Summer League. And obviously last time we saw KJ Adams on the hardwood, he tore his Achilles in that NCAA tournament game against Arkansas. He worked on the coaching staff last year. What insight can you give into what his rehab was like while he was also working as the, I believe it was with the video coordinator last year?
Yeah. So he was assistant video coordinator. He did not travel with the team, as far as I can recall. So from what I heard, he basically worked out a lot, especially when the team was on the road. But it sounds like things went really well. I saw some videos someone sent me. It would have been March-ish. And he was starting to dunk and do all that stuff again, and he looked good in some of the individual workout stuff I saw. So it's a good opportunity with the Warriors. The nice thing for him is that sometimes in Summer League it can be tough because the rosters are kind of big, and coaches are trying to play, right, the draftees and the guys who the organization are really taking a look at. The nice part with the Warriors is that they are playing in the California Classic, and they are going to split up their team into a blue and gold squad. I'm not sure which one KJ is going to play on yet, but it kind of narrows down the list of guys who can play. So he'll get a chance at least to get some I think, some good minutes during the California Classic over the kind of the next week before the Vegas Summer League begins. So I think from that perspective, he just needs reps, right? He's not played competitive basketball in game settings for over a year. So what he needs is just time. And so getting the chance to play with an organization like the Warriors, where you're going to get some of those extra reps, where not every team is playing in kind of that California Classic. I think there's another version of it somewhere else. I think it's in Utah. So I think overall for KJ, right, great opportunity, and for him to get back out there and kind of start to show what he can do. So really happy for him personally too.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Again, cannot recommend highly enough being a VIP subscriber. Right now, you can get 50% off your first year, and then you get access to all of the VIP reporting from Michael and others on the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Tuesday here on the program for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, it is always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week, and I will see you down in Frisco.
Awesome. Sounds great. See you next week.
That is Michael Swain. When you're talking summer league invites and things like that, this is obviously the slow time of the year. Like that.
I can't wait for all your interviews, man. Content.
Yeah, gonna be a long and stressful Wednesday, but
it'll be all worth it, though.
It will be. It'll be a good time. We're gonna have coverage from Big 12 Media Days next Tuesday, Wednesday, and beyond with the extra content we get from those 2 days here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this hour of the program next. .455 on 580 Sports Talk. We mentioned KJ Adams there talking with Michael Swain of Fog.net. Our thanks to him again for joining us for Jayhawk Weekly. KJ Adams getting an opportunity to resume his basketball career. He'll suit up with the Golden State Warriors in the Summer League. Did not mention Zeke Mayo, who obviously also finished his KU career 2 years ago. He's going to get a crack this summer with the Atlanta Hawks as well. So a couple of opportunities for some former Jayhawks in addition to the ones who were class of 2026.
Yeah, Zeke, true KU guy, obviously a Lawrence guy, but I saw him at the regionals.
Yeah.
He was there supporting KU baseball.
Yeah, cheering on his guys, former Lawrence Chesty Lion. We got a lot of headlines coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We have the latest on the Brendan Sorsby saga. We have a new head coach for the hometown squad, the Topeka Scarecrows. They announced their new head coach earlier today. Lots of big NBA news as free agency starts in 4 minutes. Free agency starts in 4 minutes in the NBA. Obviously, we'll get to a World Cup roundup coming up in the next hour as well. Random Question Tuesday is coming up. And we'll get to the Royals as they open a series against the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. Again, we're with you until 6 o'clock here on 580 Sports Talk, at which point we'll hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network for Game 1 of that 3-game series between Kansas City and Tampa Bay. 6:40, the scheduled first pitch time. It is going to be the kind of hot at the K that Ichiro talked about that one time. You've seen that clip, right?
Yes.
Yes, where he there's an analogy that he uses in English in very good English. Ichiro's sneakily very good speaking English, even though not his first language. He always enunciates very clearly when he speaks English, which is not often, and could not have been more clear when he said that Kansas City is as hot as, well, something to do with 2 rats and a wool sock. And I'll leave the rest to your imagination because the FCC demands that I do that. So that's all coming up, plus your interaction in the live chat on our YouTube stream. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Also, your interaction on the text line. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. We get one more hour to hang out together on this Tuesday. Stay with us after the news break. We'll get headlines. We'll get random questions. We'll talk baseball on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and in living color on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. We're starting to figure out how to run the stream again. You might have noticed if you're a loyal viewer of the YouTube stream of 580 Sports Talk. First of all, thank you for being one of those. Secondly, we had some technical issues there for a couple of weeks. We think we've ironed out the majority of the kinks. There's always something that could pop up and surprise us, but you're hearing us, you're seeing us. We rolled out a brand refresh. We got some new graphics that I'm told the people like. But there's one thing that we're missing that the people want back. And we got a text from the 785 earlier today. I wanted to know, where's the porno music during the commercial breaks? Now, I don't know that I would refer to that particular the music that we had there for a while. If you were watching the video, we would play like an interstitial during a commercial break. Through a previous streaming provider, that was rights-free music that they owned, and so it was not subject to copyright. So we just run it. We wouldn't have to worry about YouTube or somebody coming after us and trying to yank the stream down. Well, we're using a different provider now, and they don't provide any interstitial music. So now we've got to go into our own rights-free library, and we got to find our own porno music, and then we got to cross our fingers that YouTube doesn't come after us and try to enforce some kind of a copyright.
I don't even know how would we play that.
Oh, there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it inside the program.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there's a way. I know how to do it. We just got to get the music, and so I gotta. This might be a Brit Z issue that our guy Brit helps us out with. But I promise that we will return to playing some very sexy commercial break music that really sets the mood that we're trying to capture for this Sports Talk radio show. I just thought it was kind of elevator music-y, like
That's
hold
what
music.
I thought.
Now, like what I'd really like to do is play like something like what would tickle me is to play the music that's the hold music for the Cisco phone system. You know the one. If you've ever called it, it's the kind of that techno-y.
Yeah.
Like you know it. If you've called a hold, like you've been put on hold, and it's almost like kind of like I don't even know how to describe it, and I can't sing it or hum it because it's not possible. There are no words. But if you know, like the hold music, right? Like that was kind of my thought is, I just want to do that. I'll just use that. But no, one, way too recognizable, and two, not rights free. Cisco pays that guy, whoever he is. So we got to find rights free music, but we'll do it because we want the YouTube stream to stay up and stay intact, and for you to enjoy it in days, weeks, months, years after the fact.
I do wonder though, what would happen if we put the commercials? Has that ever happened?
I mean, not on purpose. We do it. People complain. People like, hey, we can hear the ads. We don't want to hear the ads. We want the porno music. So the people have spoken. That's all I'm saying. The people have spoken on the video stream. They like the interstitial. So, we'll give the people what they want. We're working on it. Well, we appreciate you hanging with us on that side, the video side of things, if that is how you enjoy our program. With getting that all ironed out here the last couple of weeks. And if that is not how you enjoy the program, but would maybe like to or think you might like looking at us while we make these words that we make with our mouth, subscribe to the YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. No time like the present, because we just got to 1,000 subscribers, so the pressure's off. But also, you're going to be able to be notified when we do have our 1,000 subscriber thank you, pour us, we're going to debase ourselves for you challenge. That is going to be food related, but we cannot elaborate more fully until we get the official details all settled. So That's on that side of things. And if you're just listening, again, over the air, we've not forgotten our terrestrial audience. You're the originals. We thank you, however you're tuning into the program, for tuning in to 580 Sports Talk. We got one more hour to give you today. Royals baseball pregame show at 6 o'clock. And the first pitch at 6:40 tonight at Kauffman Stadium. Royals and Rays, first of three. Royals and Rays just played a series indoors at the Trop in Tampa last week. Each team winning 2 out of 4. This will be a 3-game series, and we'll decide who wins the season series. Noah Cameron and Griffin Jacks are your starting pitchers tonight. Cameron for KC, Jacks for TB. Nobody calls them TB, but it's what's on
TBR?
It's what's on their hats. TB's on their hats. Anyway.
They're not even in Tampa Bay.
No, they're not. The ballpark's in St. Petersburg.
For now.
But last year they were the Tampa Rays when they played at the spring training facility of the Yankees because the Trop had gotten weather damage. But I got to say, like, I've been to the Trop. I liked it better than I thought I was going to. I went and visited 3 years ago now. And I liked it a lot better than I thought I was going to. And now, watching on TV with the new roof, it doesn't look as dark in there. That was really my only complaint. It's like, it's kind of drab, like, inside with the roof. And, like, it's got a permanent roof. It's kind of going to be, in that natural light. But it's a lot brighter in there with the new roof. And I think it's even more pleasing to watch games on television from the ballpark with the new roof. And they got new banners up in left field. Like, it looks good. Like, I am not a Trop hater. I enjoyed the ballpark. I enjoyed the Trop. I liked it a lot better than some of the retractable roof stadiums I've been to in my life. Anyhow, we'll preview game 1 of that series tonight, get you lineups, talk a little bit about the Royals and the Rays coming up later this hour. We've also got a round of Random Question Tuesday to get to for you, but we've also got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, and that is where we are going to begin today. And we are going to begin with the news from the Topeka Scarecrows. They have a new head coach, and it is maybe the greatest player in the history of the league the Scarecrows play in, the Federal Professional Hockey League.
Federal Prospects
Hockey League. Sorry, I got the P wrong. It used to just be the Federal Hockey League. It used to just be the FHL, while Ahmed Mahfouz was dominating the league. He is the all-time leading scorer in FHL/FPHL history. He's also the all-time leader in penalty minutes per game. His previous coaching experience was as a player coach with the team in Elmira, the Elmira Enforcers. It was owned at the time by the current general manager of the Topeka Scarecrows, Robbie Nichols, and that familiarity led to this relationship. Now coming to Topeka, Ahmed Mahfouz is from Ottawa and is 37 years old. Again, played the bulk of his professional career in the FPHL, which was formerly the FHL. Had 2 40-goal seasons and an additional 30-goal season in the prime of his FHL career with the Dayton Demons. By the way, that was Demons with a Z. Also played in Port Huron, Danville, Elmira, and Watertown in his FPHL career. And he will take over from Robbie Nichols, who served as the club's first head coach last year in the Scarecrows' first year of existence.
Robbie Nichols now moves to just GM.
He is the general manager. Mahfouz was a 4-time champion in the FPHL, was the league's leader in points 4 times, assists 4 times, and goals twice. He was named the league's forward of the year twice, the playoff MVP once, and is a 3-time FPHL most valuable player. So he knows a little bit about what it takes to win in the league. But I will say this, at the press conference today at Stormont Vale Event Center, when Mahfouz was announced as the new head coach, he was unable to be present. He made a statement on video, which was played at the press conference. But before that, there was a highlight reel of Mahfouz's career in the FHL/FPHL, and I saw 1 goal and a bunch of fights.
Yep.
So,
You know what kind of identity he's going to establish as the team identity.
no doubt about that. The Scarecrows under Mafuz are going to be a physical team, not afraid to throw down, I have a feeling. So
Yeah.
that is the new head coach of the Topeka Scarecrows, is, again, Robbie Nichols stepped aside from coaching responsibilities after the franchise's first season to just focus on being the general manager and building the roster, and has hired as the second head coach in program history or team history, Ahmed Mahfouz. It was also announced at the press conference that the Scarecrows are going to be around through 2031. They've got an agreement with the league and the building that they're going to be around. They've secured and solidified their future in Topeka through the 2031 season. So that's great news for hockey here in the capital city.
They also re-signed two fan favorites from last year and some of their best players. Team MVP goaltender Sammy Bernard. He posted a 1911 record with a 2.5 goals against average and 923 save percentage.
That's right.
And then leading scorer Scotty Koash is coming back. He had 62 points in 56 games. He obviously, set all these franchise milestones. And he scored the first goal in team history. They also made a trade today that, according to Robbie Nichols, the duo that they're bringing in, Vigor Flipov and Yafirm Mishkin, the duo is the best rookies in the FPHL from last year, and Nichols believes their offensive production will bring an immediate impact to the Scarecrows. Also, I'm just going to tease this here. We got something cool coming up with the Scarecrows this season on 580 Sports Talk.
We do. We'll have a lot more coverage of Topeka's home team, the Topeka Scarecrows, this year coming up on 580 Sports Talk moving forward. I know we had a lot of call for that from listeners, YouTube commenters. We have heard you, and we will supply what was requested. There will be a lot more Scarecrows coverage on this program moving forward.
It just so happens that our new ownership had already established a great relationship with them, that's moving to 580.
Give us the next headline, Spencer.
Next headline for me, Brendan Sorsby's released a statement, and he's content to not put forth any litigation towards the NFL, and he's going to quote, "There has been a lot of news about me out there, and I want to share this statement to make sure things are clear. I 100% accept responsibility for my actions. I did not have control of my gambling problem, and it took getting caught for me to realize that, but it was truly the best thing that could have happened to me. Because of this, I've been able to get the help I need and fully focus on my recovery. The news about the supplemental draft changes nothing about my recovery journey. I will continue to continue to take it one day at a time, focusing on making myself better throughout this process and making sure to share what I have learned and will continue to learn with others going forward. I am fully committed to being the best version of myself that I can be while getting ready for the 2027 draft. God makes no mistakes, and I look forward to seeing the good news that is to come from this," end quote from Brendan Sorsby.
So that was in response to this memo released to all 32 NFL teams. Quote, "We have confirmed with the NFLPA and Brendan Sorsby that there will be no further litigation regarding his entry into the NFL, and that instead Mr. Sorsby will focus on his preparation for entry into the league via the 2027 NFL Draft. For purposes of league and CBA rules, Mr. Sorsby will be considered a draft-eligible player for the 2027 NFL Draft. Mr. Sorsby will not be eligible to sign an NFL player contract until the completion of the 2027 NFL Draft." So, tough break for Jeffrey Kessler. Tough break. Jeffrey Kessler, billable hours, is the big loser here. No question about that. The future of Brendan Sorsby, I think, is very much up in the air. I would not be honestly surprised. There's no outcome that would surprise me here. That a team talks themselves into taking a chance on him with a third-day pick in next year's draft, or if all 32 teams make the independent conclusion that they'd rather not bring a kid with a documented gambling problem into their locker room, and that that is the end of his professional prospects right there. That would not be a surprising outcome. So, but it's the end. This is finally putting a period on the sentence here. This story that, again, it's not even like 3 weeks old. Like, from injunction to I'm not suing anybody anymore and I'm going to get ready for the 2027 draft, it's like 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
That all happened in the span of June, which is amazing to consider all of that. Next headline for me. Big day in the National Basketball Association. Free agency is open, has been for 21 minutes. For me, I am frustrated that my favorite team, the Denver Nuggets, has not already signed all of the good players. I don't know, what's that all about? Why haven't you signed all the good players? Like, just go and do that. It's that simple. They're all free agents now. Go do that. Go sign them. The real action, though, has kind of already taken place. All of the trades that have already been announced, some pretty big blockbuster deals that are going to be made official with the start of the new league year. Giannis Antetokounmpo being traded from Milwaukee to Miami. Minnesota casting their lot with LaMelo Ball in a trade with the Charlotte Hornets. The former All-Star Ja Morant finding a new home, being traded from Memphis to Portland. And another big trade announced earlier today that will go through. Kawhi Leonard's going back to Toronto, where he previously won an NBA championship in 2019. He's being traded to Toronto by the Los Angeles Clippers. To make this a local interest story, Grady Dick, the former Kansas Jayhawk, part of the trade package heading back to the Clippers, along with Brandon Ingram, 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a future pick swap. It'd be a good opportunity for Grady to get a second chance. I kind of feel like he's a what you call a classic change of scenery candidate after things started promisingly, but really sort of petered out. Absolutely no pun intended for Grady Dick in his time with the Raptors. Last season, Dick appeared in 76 games, only starting 1, and his points per game average dropped from a career-high 14.4 in the previous season to just 6 points per game. Big part of that was he lost his touch from behind the arc. Shot just 30% from 3 after having been a 36% three-point shooter in each of his first 2 seasons. And even that, well off the number I would have expected for Dick as a pro. Certainly what Toronto was hoping when they drafted him 13th overall in the 2023 draft. So second chance, a change of scenery, fresh start, whatever you want for Grady Dick. The other NBA news of the day, and it's really amazing. It is the year of our Lord 2026. And the newsmakers in basketball, like, there are better players in the league now, but the newsmakers in basketball continue to be the same guys who were newsmakers in basketball a decade ago. It's the same guy.
That's what I thought when I saw Kawhi was traded. Dude's 35.
Yeah, he's still awesome, though.
He's still good.
But 27 a game last year. He's still really, really good. But yes, like, the league does not feel like it is moving on from the LeBron, Steph, KD era. Those guys are still like the biggest deals in sports, even though there are better players. Problem is, the better players aren't like real interesting. Like, I love Nikola Jokic, and he's a wonderful basketball player to watch, but is he a guy that gives you a lot other than he's great at basketball? No, he's not. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a dork that nobody likes. Wemby is French, and people don't really know what to do with his Frenchness and his relative newness on the scene. So the newsmakers are still LeBron and Steph and KD and Kawhi, and it's amazing. And speaking of LeBron James, we're going to have one more LeBron decision. He has informed the Los Angeles Lakers he will seek employment elsewhere for the 2026-27 season, ending an 8-year run in Los Angeles that saw him win 1 Mickey Mouse NBA championship in the bubble in 2020. They did really reach a conference final in 2023. They lost to the Nuggets. I enjoyed that very much. But 8 years, just one championship for LeBron in Los Angeles, and that's how we measure the all-time greats. How many championships did you win? LeBron won just one in L.A. Lakers are content to move forward with Luka Doncic as the face of and the hub of their franchise. Also, their second-best player is Austin Reeves, so good luck with that. The heavy rumor right now is that LeBron might be a Warrior, and that the Warriors would like to form a Big Four, which is again, it's 2026, guys. They want to form a Big Four with Steph Curry, LeBron James, Draymond Green, and a trade for Anthony Davis, which I kind of thought the Wizards wanted to build around Anthony Davis.
So they
Wizards
do.
insider Spencer Dupuis, help me out here.
According to Mark J. Spears, ESPN senior NBA writer for the Anscape, I guess it's called, of ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
It's their basketball thing. The Wizards are shutting down all trade talks involving Anthony Davis. So this is not a Wizards thing. The Wizards want to get a contract with him and want him to be on the team and help mentor this young squad that they have. They don't want to trade him away. They didn't trade all they traded for them to trade him away
Just
again.
give him away so that the Warriors could try and win the 2018 NBA championship in 2026. Like, truly amazing.
Will Dawkins is a huge fan of AD, according to another NBA team exec that told Mark Spears.
Honest to goodness, LeBron should go play for the Nuggets.
No, I want LeBron in DC. 1 year.
He can still
LeBron and Ovechkin retirement tours. The GOAT talk continues in
All right.
Capital One Arena.
I still think LeBron's probably a top 20 player in the league easily. Can still help. He can help a team with championship aspirations. I'm just not sure that team is a team with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and then I guess in that world they'd include Jimmy Butler in an Anthony Davis trade. Jimmy Butler and his busted up knee.
So that's where all this hinges on. Anthony, according to Brian Windhorst this morning on Get Up, the Warriors have told Jimmy Butler they will not trade him, and the Wizards are not interested. I don't know if that coincides because of that or not. But that Jimmy Butler, according to Brian Windhorst, the Warriors don't want to trade him.
Interesting. So
I'm not sure where all this trade talk, all this stuff came
There's
from.
also some thought that LeBron might make it back to Cleveland, finish his career where it started, near his hometown, in his home state. But that will be the big free agent. Like, most players don't make it to free agency anymore. That's kind of the thing about the NBA is most guys don't make it to free agency. The way the salary cap is constructed, it makes it a lot easier to keep your guys. You get what are called Larry Bird rights, and you can pay your guys whatever, and it doesn't really count against the salary cap, or it doesn't count as strictly as other money counts against the salary cap. So you just don't have the intrigue. You don't have a bunch of like star players that hit free agency, and the ones that get close to free agency and that aren't going to go back to their teams kind of let their teams know they're not going to come back, and then they get traded, like Giannis.
Yeah.
Or players like that. So having like LeBron is the best free agent on the market, and he's the most interesting free agent on the market. And it just doesn't speak well of the NBA that the most interesting guys in their league are late 30s, my age, or they've got kids who play in the league.
Okay, so two things here.
Which is, yes, that is the one of the side stories of this whole LeBron story that is very amusing, that Bronny James's deal with the Lakers became guaranteed yesterday. So he's getting his money. But at the same time, for the Lakers, that's a salary cap decision that it makes more sense to have him on the books at that money, guaranteeing that salary. It's a better salary cap decision for them.
Yeah.
If they're going to keep the player.
Also, remember when like all the discussion was like 3 years ago that, LeBron just wants to play a couple seasons with his son and then he's going to retire.
Yeah, guess not.
Yeah.
Play with his son, got him a second contract, and now he's moving on. Let's get to the World Cup roundup to wrap up our headlines today, shall we? Let's do it.
Open wide for some soccer!
The knockout stage action has been really good. If you've been keeping track. Lots of drama, late winners, penalty shootouts. Not sure there'll be much drama in the match currently ongoing. France leads Sweden 2-0. Kylian Mbappe opening the scoring late in the first half for the French, the defending runners-up of the World Cup, as they look to advance to the round of 16. Earlier today, it was Erling Haaland's 86th minute goal that was the difference as Norway defeated Côte d'Ivoire in their round of 32 match. Last night, Germany and the Netherlands stunningly go out on penalties. Germany losing to Paraguay, the same Paraguay team that gave up 4 to Team USA, and everybody said, well, who cares? It's Paraguay. Paraguay's now in the round of 16. So, yeah, maybe that was a bit more impressive than we were willing to give Team USA some credit for. They oust Germany, who hasn't made it out of the round of 16 in the last 3 World Cups, which is a full-fledged national crisis for the Germans. And then the Netherlands lost on penalties last night to Morocco. I watched that penalty shootout. The difference was that the goalkeeper for the Netherlands saved a shot while diving and then accidentally kicked the ball into his own goal as he was rolling over the ball. And Morocco's keeper made a save where he didn't dive. He just had his hand out, and the ball hit him right in the hand. He just kind of punched it away like the Hulk. It was a terrible shootout. Like, none of those guys kicked good penalties, but it was very dramatic. And so both Paraguay and Morocco advanced through yesterday. Again, France up 2-0 on Sweden tonight. Mexico and Ecuador continuing round of 32 action. Team USA plays tomorrow night. That's it for your World Cup roundup. That's it for your 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, it's a round of Random Question Tuesday, plus your text, 785-272-9429. Got some good ones during the headline segment we'll get to here in just a bit. Here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll get into Random Question Tuesday here in a bit on 580 Sports Talk. Text line is open, 785-272-9429. Also, the YouTube live chat, which they turned it into 580 Food Talk over there today. I can't read too much of the food talk because I'll get hungry. I do too much food talk in the 5 o'clock hour.
Yeah,
and it's inevitable.
We always do this, man. I'm just excited. It's Taco Tuesday
yeah.
at the old house.
Oh,
tonight.
nice. Taco Tuesday. Respect. Yeah, stomach gets rumbling when you talk too much food in the 5 o'clock hour. On the text line, 785-272-9429. A couple reactions to some of the headlines we just did in 580 Sports Talk headlines. A couple very similar notions regarding Brendan Sorsby. Text from the 913. Somebody should have asked him what the odds are that he'll get drafted. Another one from the 785 from our friends out in Mission Creek Township. They say they want to bet Brandon Sorsby gets passed over in next year's draft. There's a way that Sorsby could have played this where he could have become something like a sympathetic figure. Like, if he had not just signaled his contrition, admitted his mistake, gone to rehab, accepted his punishment from the NCAA, I think there's a world where we could say, you know what, feel a little bit bad for Brendan Sorsby in this regard. This is a culture that we live in now where it has never been easier to gamble. For young men in particular, gambling addiction is something that a lot of young men are fighting and struggling with these days. And I think there could have been a place to find a little bit of understanding, maybe even a little bit of sympathy for Brendan Sorsby in that regard. But the excuses in the affidavit where he talked about, well, I wanted to feel connected to my team, and that's why I bet on my own team while I was playing at Indiana, which is the one rule everybody in the world knows that you can't break. So to have said that, to have fought it in that way, and to have fought the notion of consequences at every turn, I think has done the opposite and turned Brendan Sorsby into a pretty unsympathetic figure who gets the jokes like this on our text line and deserves them. I think he's earned that. But I think if he had played it a different way, I think because I do think there is room, even in feeling like, man, he handled this really poorly. But at the same time, we are producing in this, in our modern times, we are producing young men with gambling problems. Like, there have never been more young people who are being reckless with their money and reckless with gambling, and it's a problem. It's a big problem. And Brendan Sorsby could have been the sympathetic face of a very real problem, but I think he lost any ability to claim some of that sympathy with the way he and his legal team, let's be honest, he got some bad advice, the way his legal team handled all this. Another text from the 785 asked, where do you think that Sorsby will land? Could it be in Las Vegas with the Raiders? I think the Raiders are pretty set at quarterback. At least they'd like to think so. Yeah. With Fernando Mendoza.
Arizona.
They're going to be in the market for a quarterback, but they're also going to draft high enough to get a good one. Like, that's just it. Like, all the teams that are going to be quarterback needy going into 2027, there's way better choices in that draft. And all of them will have played college football and do not have a documented gambling problem. So, like, is he going ahead of Arch? Is he going to get ahead of Dante Moore, Darian Mensah, Lenora Sellers, those guys? No. Sam Levitt? Like, what? I have a hard time seeing a team using a draft pick on him. Also from the 785 regarding the LaMelo Ball trade to Minnesota, Texter says, I've seen Ball's dad say, put all my boys on the same team. I'll guarantee you a championship. He doesn't give up. Lonzo's best days are behind him. He can barely move anymore. Yeah. LiAngelo's a rapper. He had a viral hit last year. Made some headlines.
Which one loves to drive recklessly out of the arena?
That's LaMelo. That's why him and Anthony Edwards, they're calling that backcourt in Minnesota traffic court and child support. They said with those two and Rudy Gobert on the same team, you've got COVID test, driving test, and paternity test all on the same roster. He and Anthony Edwards are going to kill each other. By the way, that's not going to work. I love that Minnesota has made themselves worse because they were the only team that could beat the Nuggets in the 7-game series, like owned the Nuggets. And now they've forfeited all that size and physicality that made them such a bad matchup for my favorite team so they could willfully employ LaMelo Ball. Good luck with that. Anyway, Random Question Tuesday time. I've done enough talking. You said you had some questions today, so lay them on us, Spencer. Random Question Tuesday. What we got?
All right. If you won the Mega Millions lottery, whatever, the highest it's ever been, what would be your first purchase?
My first purchase?
Yeah.
Man. I'd probably go get a little celebratory, like, I don't know, like extra guac at Chipotle, like to celebrate, like, maybe a nice bottle of champagne. I'd probably, go celebrate. Like, as far as like first big purchase, honestly, it would be like a bigger house. Like,
yeah,
I'd like to, my wife and I like to grow our family, God willing, someday, and we'd like more space. You never have enough space. You think you have enough space, and then you start having kids, and you realize the space you have could be bigger because don't know what you know about 2-year-olds. They got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
They got a lot of stuff. And then you keep the baby stuff around if you're going to have a second one, and that stuff just accumulates. So
and then
more space.
Maybe you think about, then it gets put away, and then maybe you think about keeping it for longer.
Right.
Like I have a bunch of baby stuff at home that my mom's keeping around for kids I'm going to have.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I'm not like, a younger me would have had some like, oh yeah, I'm gonna ball out of control. I'm gonna buy this car. I'm gonna go play golf and book a nice golf vacation or something. And I'd still probably do those things. But nah, man, just take care of my own. Be first and foremost.
Yeah, that's what I'd do. Also pay down my college loan.
Yeah, get
debt.
out of debt. Get out of debt.
The first thing I'd do, I'd get out of debt.
There you go. That's not a fun answer, but that's a 2026 answer.
Yes.
That's a young person in 2026 answer for sure. What was your other random question today?
I don't know if this has been a question we've had, but I was thinking about it the other day.
It may have been. We've done this segment for a lot of years on the show. I'm sure we've had some reruns.
If you could go back in history to any sporting event in history, what one would you like to go to?
Okay, so we've definitely done this one. But it's been a long time. I'm not saying like we've probably been a few years since we've reprised it. But any sporting event, which one would I want to go and see? I think there's a real easy answer to this question. I think to have been in Lake Placid for the Miracle on Ice and to see that without the prior knowledge of what was going to happen. And experience what that meant to everybody in that arena in 1980 in the United States at those Olympics to beat Russia. I would love to have. That's the all-time, man, if I could have been there for that would have been, I think that would be unparalleled.
Yeah.
What's your answer?
Last time my football teams won a Super Bowl.
Just to
Mark
say,
Rippon era.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, early 90s.
It's about the first Super Bowl I can remember. That was at the Metrodome in
I think it
Minneapolis.
was.
Yeah. Beat the Bills. That's one of the
Just for that, like, I felt both of my, the two other teams that I pour a lot into win championships. Then just the other one that I also pour the most into has been so bad for most of my life that I want, like, my dad has those memories, my mom has those memories, but I don't.
I think it would also have been cool to see, again, if you're saying I get to go back in time but also have no prior knowledge, like you give me one of those, like, Men in Black, the neuralizer. Is that what they call it? They flash your memory and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, I know now, but like I say, I want to go back and I want to experience the final round of the 1986 Masters. Jack wins. But I show up on the grounds and you wipe my memory, and I have no idea who's going to win. I just know what everybody else knows going into that day.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Or Dale Earnhardt winning the 98 Daytona 500. Or just those moments that are just a catharsis and an emotional outpouring, and one of those, like, I can't believe this is really happening type of sporting events.
Yeah.
That if I go back and experience one of those, and Secretariat winning at the Belmont. Something like that. That would be a pretty cool thing to go back and experience. Game 6 of the '86 World Series at Shea Stadium, the Bill Buckner game. That'd be another one. What's your answer? 785-272-9429. You can drop your answer in the live chat on YouTube. We'll get to some of your answers after this break. We'll also preview Royals baseball. Royals and Rays tonight at the K. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. 547 on 580 Sports Talk. Round and third heading for home on this Tuesday afternoon. Some of your answers to our random questions today from the live chat on YouTube. Mark B says he'd upgrade his wife's wedding ring and buy his dream fishing boat with Mega Millions winnings. Britt said he helped out his mom and dad's mortgage. Same with Mark H. Said upgrade his parents' kitchen. And from the text line, from the 785, I'd go get season tickets and a box to the Chiefs. I respect that. Doesn't have to be not everything you do has to be altruistic. That's a lot of money. Just because it's not first doesn't mean it doesn't mean something to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd go buy a new car, but it wouldn't be like a luxury car. It'd just be a run-of-the-mill car. It'd just be new.
As far as the question about which sporting event would you like to go back in time and see if you could experience it for the first time, Vance submits the Bobby Thompson's home run in 1951, the three-game playoff with the Dodgers. The Giants win the pennant game. Jeffrey says, would have loved to have seen Oakland beat Minnesota in the Super Bowl, John Madden's championship. Mark B says, neuralizer me before the 2003 Big 12 football championship. That's sure a popular answer for K-State fans. Vance also submitting Tiger Woods winning his first Masters. Britt agrees, miracle on ice. Mark H., Michael Jordan winning the first of his 6 titles against the Lakers in 1991. Thanks for the answers. Appreciate y'all playing along on a little random question Tuesday. Royals baseball coming up. Pregame in 11 minutes here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Off day for the Royals. Probably came at a good time after they dropped 2 out of 3 in Chicago. They're back at it today against the Rays, who they split a 4-game series with at Tropicana Field last week. The Rays remain in first place in the American League East. The New York Yankees are going through what they always seem to go through in June. They haven't had a good June in I can't remember how long. And obviously Aaron Judge is out, so that really changes the equation for the Yankees as a whole. But after a dogfight at the top of the division, the Yankees had briefly taken a division lead. Tampa Bay is back up by a game and a half out east, and their 48 wins and 33 losses give them the best record in the American League. They'll send Griffin Jacks back to the mound. He hasn't gone longer than 5 innings in any of his starts this year. He threw 5 against the Royals on Wednesday, allowed 2 runs. Neither was earned. He'll be supported by the following Rays lineup tonight. Yandy Diaz will DH and lead off. Jonathan Aranda's at first. Junior Caminero is at third. Ryan Valade is in right field. Johnny DeLuca is in center. Chandler Simpson is in left. Ben Williamson plays second. Taylor Walls is at short. Nick Fortes does the catching. For the visiting Rays, they'll bat against Noah Cameron, who gave up 5 runs on 8 hits in his 5 innings of work in that same Wednesday night loss in St. Petersburg. He'll try and improve on his 4.50 earned run average tonight. Royals go with Carter Jensen behind the plate leading off. He'll try and extend his 19-game hitting streak tonight. Bobby Witt Jr. for a 3rd straight game back in there at short, batting second. Jack Caglione's DHing tonight, and he'll bat third. Lane Thomas bats cleanup in center field. Michael Massey's at second. Salvador Perez is at first. John Rave gets the start in right field tonight, batting 7th. It's Nick Lofton at third base and Isaac Collins in left field, batting 9th. I know they had to juggle the lineup around because they couldn't bat Salvador Perez cleanup anymore, not with a 576 OPS. I understand why he can't bat cleanup anymore. What I don't understand is why it has to be Lane Thomas. I really, and against a righty in particular, that is what I truly do not understand, why it has to be Lane Thomas. I've obviously got a lot of questions about managerial decisions lately as it pertains to the Kansas City Royals. But I got to pull up. Thomas this year, he's got a 664 OPS. He's been in a funk, though he did have 2 hits in Sunday's game and drove in a run. But his whole thing was, he's in here to hit lefties, and he's done that by and large, hit lefties pretty well. He got a 366 on base against lefties. Lane Thomas's OPS against right-handed pitching is 633. He's batting 188 with a 337 slug. That's your cleanup hitter tonight for the Kansas City Royals. And that's why they're 34-50. Not the only reason, but or 35-50. Sorry, I shorted them a win. That's my bad. When you've only got 35 of them, you don't want to short them any. But no, there are a lot of reasons why things have turned south. But man, that again, this comes from Quatrero's long-held desire to alternate the lineup, go lefty-righty, lefty-righty. And against the Tampa Bay bullpen that can mix and match, like, I understand the compulsion to do that. But, okay, why not Nick Lofton? His OPS is 70 points higher than Lane Thomas. Why can't he be the cleanup hitter? Because he's only got 3 home runs to Thomas's 5?
What does 2 really mean?
Very little. Very little.
When it's that low, too.
Lofton has more RBI. Like, if you want to play the old school stat game. Like, yeah, why does it have to be Lane Thomas? I don't know. You're arguing over batting order placement for a last place team. Like, that's probably a sign. You know, that's sign we need to take a commercial break and come back and wrap up 580 Sports Talk after this. Wrapping up and walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Yes. So I got my car's oil changed today, and I also got an estimate to fix my AC because I have not had proper AC in my car for a year and a half.
Buddy.
And next Monday or Tuesday, whenever I get my car back, can't come soon enough.
This is not a good week to be.
I have AC, but the one on my driver's side doesn't work. So it's not fun because it's hard to extend it from the passenger side.
Did you get that like clicking sound in there with it, and it's only blowing like hot air out of the one side?
Yes, my AC blend door is stuck on heat.
Yep. Hands up if you've had that problem, that damn blend door. Yeah, I got that. I had that happen almost immediately when I bought my Charger used. I only really got it fixed like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah,
and even sometimes it won't turn all the way over. So if like I'll stop the car and then like go drop my kid off at daycare, right? Like something real quick, and then I go fire it up again. The air will come out not cold. Thankfully, that's a problem for the passenger I don't have. It's not a problem on the driver's side.
The only thing I don't like about this is they have to take apart your whole dashboard in order to do it.
Yes, it's so expensive.
Yes.
It's such an expensive
It's
fix.
a $55 part.
Yes.
But it's going to cost me a few
Man,
$100
tell me
to
about
get
it.
done.
Preach.
Yes.
Should have done this when I had more time.
I found out last February
yell
this
about
was
it.
a problem.
Yeah, man, that's a brutal one. That's a hard one to have. Car owners out there, if you ever had that blend door go on your AC, you know exactly Spencer's pain and also mine. Final word for me today. The World Cup's been some great sports, man. The drama of the penalty kick shootout last night, but I think I would be a really effective soccer coach, soccer manager, football manager, if you will, because I'd give the best advice to my penalty kick takers in a penalty shootout. I'd say, stop with this stutter step nonsense. Go up to the ball and kick it at the goal. Hit the net. How is it so hard? You're 18 feet away. Hit the damn net. Royals baseball's next. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.